viewer, welcome to this lesson. It's a primary 5 class, term 2, topic 2 of term 2. In the previous topic, we were looking at the people of the pre-colonial Uganda, meaning we are looking at the people who were in Uganda before the coming of the colonialists that we are now going to introduce in this topic. So this topic is giving us, it's written as foreign influence in Uganda. That is the topic that we are going to begin. Now here, we need to note that we are going to be looking at things like, one, we are going to look at what we mean, foreigner. Because it's where we get the word foreign. Foreign. We shall have foreigner. Then we shall be able to understand what we now mean by foreign influence. Foreign influence. So we are going to understand the two words, the two terms rather, properly. Now, we shall begin. Who is a foreigner? We are going to say a foreigner is a person who does not belong to a particular area. As simple as that. A foreigner is a person who does not belong to a particular area. Who does not belong to a particular area or country. That is the first thing we have to note as primary 5 children. A foreigner is a person who does not belong, that person is not supposed to be there. It does not belong to there. In other words, it's like a visitor. So in most cases, you will find that when you go to your neighbor's house, I know you have friends at the neighborhood. So when you go to their house, you have it in your mind that that is not your house. So you have the belonging that you belong to another house. This is not my dad's house. For me, I belong to the other one. So that's what we call having belonging. You don't belong to that area, but you are just there for some time. So we shall be looking at those people. People who came to Uganda, they were not Ugandans, but they came to Uganda for their different reasons, as visitors just, and they went back. They are the ones that we shall be looking at. And then the second term, before we go back to look at those people, we have what we call foreign influence. Now, foreign influence, to influence means to affect, to change, to make someone to do what the person maybe did not have in mind. So here, we are now looking at changes. We shall say, these are changes. Foreign influence refers to the changes. Foreign influence refers to the changes that were brought in by the what? By these foreigners. That is a very simple definition as well. Changes that were brought in by the foreigners. There are 4. We are now going to look at the groups of foreigners. Groups of foreigners that came to Uganda. So, in this, we are going to be mainly looking at 4 groups of foreigners that came to Uganda. The first group is the group of the people that we call traders. We have the people that we call traders. Who is a trader? A trader is a person who deals in trade, who deals with trade, buys goods, sells them. So we are going to be looking at that group. And then the other second group, we shall be looking at the group of the people that we shall be calling the explorers. Explorers. This is how we write, explorers. I believe you have been hearing something about explorers. now is the time for you to understand these things. Then the other group is the group of the people that we call missionaries. Very good also. We are now going to look at them. And finally, we shall look at the people we call colonialists. Remember, we were looking at people of the pre-colonial Uganda, meaning before the coming of these colonialists. These ones are the ones that we can also write sometimes as administrators. Colonialists can also be called administrators, meaning these ones came to Uganda to administer, to rule Ugandans. We shall be looking at these people also when the time comes. Today, let's extract the first group, traders. So we are having here the first group of traders. Like I say, this group of traders are the people who came mainly to carry out trade. So we can say these were the people who came to Uganda, purposely, or we can simply say mainly. They came to Uganda mainly to carry out trade. That is what we need to begin understanding in this subtopic of traders. Now, if we are asked, we should also be able to note that these people were in different groups of traders. In that, we shall be able to note that we had what we call the Arab traders. These ones, as sometimes we simply call them the Arabs. Simple as that. I want you to be understanding this lesson because this is what you need in the class. And this is what you need to take you through this class, take you through P6, take you through primary 7, where you will write your primary learning examination and you will pass it very well. Second group, we had the people who came from India. We call them Indian traders. We can also call them Indians only. That is another one. Under traders. Next, we had those traders that came from Europe. We call them European traders. They came from Europe purposely to carry out trade. And then lastly was a group of people that came from Sudan. By then it was called Sudan as a country. South Sudan was not yet separate as a country that we look at today. So it was the whole country called Sudan. And in that country, we had people who came from Khartoum. So we call them Khartoumers. So these are the other subgroups of traders. I want you to understand this well. When you are asked to give the groups of foreigners, don't write this as individual. These ones fall under what? The traders. Now, in this class, we are now going to look at them one by one. And we are beginning with the first one, Arab traders. Arab traders. That I say, we can also call them Arabs. As simple as that. Now, in our primary 5 class, we shall be able to note that there is on page 16, it tells us that they were the first group to come to Uganda. And secondly, we are told that the first Arab trader came in 1844. That was Ahmed bin Ibrahim. So we are going to say that this was the first group of traders to come to Uganda. That is in 1844. That is what we are having in our notes. The notes are there to guide you. I said we are going to be following our notes and we are going to be following our lesson. We are on page 16. Arabs were the first people to come to Uganda. That is in 1844. And we are saying the first Arab to come to Uganda, the first Arab trader to come to Uganda was Ahmed bin Ibrahim. Now there is something we need to note here. A question can be thrown to us in P5. Who was the first Arab trader to come to Uganda? Ahmed bin Ibrahim. Or they can ask us the other way around. Why is Ahmed bin Ibrahim remembered in Uganda? So you can still answer it the other way around. You say he was the first Arab trader to come to where? To Uganda. And by the time these Arabs came to Uganda, they met the Kabaka of Uganda by that time, who was called Kabaka Suna. So we need also to note that the Kabaka of Uganda by that time was not the Kabaka that we have in Uganda today. Now, we need to note, where did these Arabs come from? These Arabs came from Saudi Arabia, so we can simply add, they had come from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is found in a continent that we call Asia. I want us to be understanding that. They had come from Saudi Arabia in where? Asia. Asia is a continent just like Africa. Remember we said in primary 5, a continent is a large mass of land surrounded by water. You find when we look at Africa as a continent, it has very many countries in it and it's surrounded by water. You find in Africa there are very many countries. Uganda is one of them, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi. I cannot finish mentioning them. So also in that continent of Asia is a country that is called Saudi Arabia. And that is where these Arabs came from. So we also need to note that before these Arabs entered Uganda, or before they entered into the interior of East Africa, that is Uganda, we shall say that they had settled at the East African coast. They had settled at the East African coast. So they now entered Uganda. Now, we are going to be looking at the reasons why the Arabs came to Uganda. I'm so sure we are following the lesson and you are really benefiting from it. Now, here we have the major reason. Since we say these were traders, so we shall be able to tell that the major reason as to why the Arabs came to Uganda was to carry out what? Trade. This was the major reason. Major reason. Be very careful with these questions. Now, if we say this was the major reason, it means that there were also other reasons. For example, we shall say they wanted also to spread their religion. To spread their religion, that is Islam. So they wanted to spread Islam as their religion. For this case, we shall be able to understand something here. That since the Arabs came first, as we have said, they were the first people to come to Uganda. They were the first foreigners. It means that the first foreign religion to be introduced into Uganda was Islam, the one which was brought by the Arabs. So I believe we are able to understand that very well. They wanted to carry out trade as the major reason. They wanted to spread their religion, that was Islam. And then also we had some of them, but those are the ones now who came to the coast. But for us, when it comes to the ones now that entered Uganda, these are the two reasons we are taking. The other ones we shall understand it when we go to P6. So, goods they came with. Goods that the Arabs came with. Remember, we have said they wanted to carry out trade, which means we need also to remember that during those days, there was no money. People were not using money like if you want to buy something from the canteen, if you want to buy something from the shop, you go with the money. No, money was not there. So people could exchange goods for goods. In other words, if you had something like you want maybe you want a kilogram of meat, you could go with goods. Like you get maybe maize, maybe you put maize in the basin, then you go carrying it and you go to the person selling meat, tell the person, I want some meat, can you please take the maize? So that is what we shall be calling barter trade. Barter trade, exchange of goods for goods without involving the use of money. So these Arabs had come with their goods that they wanted to exchange with the ones that the Africans or the ones that the Ugandans had. So let's look at the goods they came with. The Arabs came with guns. The Arabs came with mirrors. The Arabs came with shoes. The Arabs came with clothes. I believe we are following them. The Arabs came with cups. They came with plates, among others. So those are the products, those are the goods that the Arabs had brought. Therefore, we also need to note that there were goods that the Arabs wanted from Uganda. Goods that the Arabs wanted. I believe you are following this lesson, because tomorrow you are going to be asked to state or to list the goods that the Arabs brought. Or you can be asked to tell the goods that the Arabs had wanted from Uganda. Meaning, you are now looking at what was in Uganda that these people wanted. One, these people wanted back cloth. These people wanted ivory. I believe we know ivory got from the elephants, or the elephant tusks got from the elephants, of course, and of which, for this case, we shall be able to answer a question that can be asked to us. Remember, when the Arabs came, it meant that for people, of course, people in Uganda wanted these goods from the Arabs. Someone could want a gun. I want also to own a gun. Therefore, what do the Arabs want? They want ivory. So you could find that the Ugandans could run to the game parks to hunt, to kill the elephants such that they get the elephant tusks. Remember, you can't get the tusks from the elephant when it's alive. So people had to first kill the elephant, then they get the elephant tusks. So the presence of Arabs in Uganda led to the decrease in the number of elephants in game parks, or it made very many elephants to be killed for ivory. The mistake you will make is for you to tell us that the Arabs killed the the elephants. No, the Arabs could not kill. For them, they had their goods. The elephants were killed by the Ugandans who wanted to get the ivory to exchange with the Arabs, and they get these products. If one wanted the shoes, someone is moving bare feet, does not have the shoes on his feet, so the person would be like, I also want to at least wear shoes. So how do I get the shoes? What do the Arabs want? They want ivory. So someone runs with a spear, with everything, to the game park, he kills the elephant, he gets the ivory to run to the Arabs, and he will exchange, and he gets the shoes. So the presence of Arabs in Uganda led to the increased killing of elephants. And a question can be asked to you from that. How did the Arab presence in Uganda lead to how did the Arab presence in Uganda affect wildlife? There we are now looking at those wild animals. So we shall say people were now killing the wild animals to get the ivory that the Arabs wanted. The other one is the Arabs also wanted people to help them to carry those goods that they could buy. And those people are the ones who became what we call slaves. Slaves takes us to slave trade. That we mean the buying and selling of people. You will find that the Arabs could want people to help them carry the goods up the coast of East Africa, of which people were tortured, people suffered, they died, others could get separated from their families. And then also we had Arabs wanting grains, and we shall also be having here hides and skins. They also wanted hides and skins. Of course, these ones still were from the animals, and as a result, again, another increase in the death of animals in game parks because of the presence of Arabs, that is in Uganda. So we need to note about that. Therefore, I want us to look at slave trade a little, as we have already mentioned it. We shall talk about slave trade, then we shall end that one there. So we are looking at slave trade, as we say that the Arabs wanted slaves from Uganda to help them carry their goods. So it brought what we call slave trade. So when we are defining slave trade, we shall say slave trade is the buying and selling of human beings. That is how we can define slave trade, the buying and selling of human beings. So, why did the Arabs want slaves? Why Arabs wanted slaves? Here, we are going to give two reasons mainly. And the first, which is the major reason, was to help carry their goods. To carry their goods from Uganda to the East African coast, or we can simply say to the coast of East Africa. The coast of East Africa. That is reason number one. And then reason number two, the Arabs had settled at the coast, remember, as we say, and they had established some of their farms there. So they wanted these people to work in their farms, in East Africa, or at the coast of East Africa. To work in their farms at the coast of East Africa. So those are the main reasons that the Arabs wanted slaves. And then we also want to note, how did the Arabs get these slaves? How did the Arabs get Or sometimes we can be given the word obtain. Don't get confused. Today again, what is the meaning of obtain? That is to get. How did the Arabs get or obtain slaves? Meaning these people that they could buy, or mean that they wanted to help them carry. How are they getting them? Still, we are going to have two ways the Arabs could obtain or get slaves. One, the Arabs could buy by buying them from the local leaders. That is the first way. Local leaders, for example, local leaders include kings, chiefs. These are the ones that we are looking at mainly. So you will find that the Arabs could come to a kingdom, to a chiefdom, or to an area, to a society, and they say, where is the leader? They are taken to the king. And from there, they say, Your Highness, we want some help from you. We want some people to help us carry our goods that we have got. We have bought ivory, we have got the backcloth, we have got the grains, whatever, but now we want some other people to help us carry our goods up the coast of East Africa. And you could find that these kings could now bargain with them. What are you giving me? We are going to give you guns, maybe 5 guns. How many people do you need? Give us this number of people, maybe give us 10 people. So, as a result, we say that the Arabs could buy these slaves, these people, from the local leaders. And that is the reason that will make us to note in our primary 5 class that during slave trade, during the time when these people were being sold and bought, the local leaders were enjoying life. In other words, they were benefiting a lot from it. How? They were able to get items and they sell people as a way of giving back or paying back. So they were benefiting from slave trade. And that's the reason as to why you'll be having a question asking you, why were the local leaders not happy with the abolition of slave trade? When you go to primary 6, we shall be looking at how slave trade was abolished. To abolish means to end it, how it was ended. And you'll find that these local leaders were not happy with it being ended or with it being abolished, with it being stopped. They wanted it to continue. How? I mean, why? Because they were benefiting from it. They could sell people and they get these gifts from the Arabs. That was very bad. So the Arabs could get the slaves by buying them from the local leaders. Then secondly, the Arabs could get slaves by capturing them. By capturing them. This is what we call raiding villages. Raiding villages. Now, to raid means they could mount an attack. For example, they could come, there are many. Remember, these Arabs could move in groups that we call caravans. This was for protection mainly. So you could find, and for them, they were having these guns, whatever, so people could not resist. Like they come to a place, they just arrest you from nowhere, you try to run, they capture you, and they chain you. They tie you so that you don't run away. So that was another way the Arabs could get these slaves that they were to torture, making them to carry their goods up the coast. Now, bad effects of slave trade. Bad effects of slave trade. Of course, slave trade had more of the bad effects than the positive ones. The only positive way was that it made the local leaders to enjoy. But to other people, it was very terrible, it was very bad. I think this information is missing in your book. So what I will make you know is that what you will do is you get a pen, then you try to add it in, you get space and you add. If not there, you get your diary and you add this information because it's very, very important for you as a primary 5 child. So we are now on the effects, the bad effects of slave trade. We shall once say, in the first one we shall say, it caused death of people. It caused death of people. Or we can simply say slave trade led to the death of people. Remember, I have said some people were just captured. And when you are captured, you are forced to carry the goods for a long distance. And you could find that you travel for a long journey, you get tired, carrying things on your head, on your back. The things are very heavy, you fall sick, no one cares for you. So they are saying, we go. And it could become worse if they bought you from the local leaders. Because they will be like, we used our guns, whatever, we bought you from your local leader, and now you are pretending that you are tired. We go. So you could find people could suffer, and by the time they realize that you are really tired and you cannot walk, they unchain you, they leave you there. Now imagine you travel for a long distance from your home, you have reached a place whereby you don't know that place now, you were on the way, maybe it is in the middle of a thick forest. Remember, by that time, the roads that we have today were not yet there. So people were just passing by a forest, bushes like that. So when they leave you there, you are helpless, you cannot again be able to walk. So you will wait for an animal now to come and eat you up. So that is the first danger. Slave trade caused death of people. Then number two, slave trade caused separation of families. Separation of family members. Separation of family members. Implying that if they come to your place and they take daddy, because daddy is strong, they say, daddy, we are taking you. You could find that the dad says bye to my children, bye to mommy. They are taking daddy forever. You will not again see daddy coming back. They will take daddy to carry the goods. Where daddy gets tired, they leave him there, he dies there. So it caused separation of family members, which was something which was very bad to people. And then we have, it led to depopulation in the country. That is in Uganda. Depopulation, we are looking at the number of people went down. How? The people who were to remain in the country were taken, very many people were taken, and others could die on their way. So as a result, strong men were taken out of the country, and this led to the reduction, or it led the agricultural production to go down. They can be asking you such a question: how did slave trade affect agriculture? You will find that strong men were taken out of the country, and therefore the people who were to grow the crops for the country were no longer there. So this was another bad effect of slave trade. So for this case, we shall say, we blame the Arabs. They can ask us that question. Which group of foreigners do we blame for introducing slave trade? Of course, that is the group of the Arabs. They are the ones that brought this act. However, I want us to summarize, also understanding that the Arabs also had, much as they did this, which was bad, they also had their contributions. There are good things that they brought to the country that the country did not have. So we are going to look at contributions of the Arabs as we conclude this part of the Arabs' contributions. Contributions of Arabs. So let us now remove our minds from slave trade, much as it happened. Now we are looking at the good things now. Which good things did the Arabs introduce? We shall say the Arabs introduced new items of trade into Uganda. new items of trade. Which were these new items of trade? We talked about guns, shoes, caps, mirrors, clothes, plates, mentioned by a few. So those items of trade, the Arabs are the ones that introduced them. That was good. Ugandans also now were able to wear shoes. Ugandans were able to get very nice clothes to put on. They were able to get guns that they could use for protection. Some people could use the guns for attacking other people, and they get wealth from that. Next one is the Arabs introduced a new religion that we say it became the first foreign religion. Foreign meaning it was not yet in Uganda. They introduced Islam as a religion. But here there is something again we need to share. You will find that Islam was the first religion to be introduced into Uganda. But we shall be able to look at when we see Islam and Christianity today in Uganda, you will find that most people, if we are to compare the Christians and the Muslims, you will find that the Christians are more than the Muslims. And yet, Islam came first. You would now expect Muslims to be very many. So we have the reasons. Mainly, we have got two reasons. Why Islam did not maybe spread very fast. The first reason is Islam involved some painful practices like circumcision. So you could find that for one to become a Muslim, more so the male ones, one had to be circumcised. So some people could fear such things. You are going to circumcise people. You're like, for me I don't want now for that. So that is one reason as to why Islam did not spread very fast. Then secondly, we say that these Arabs were mainly interested in carrying out trade. Therefore, they were doing Islam, they were spreading their religion as a by the way. So they were not all that very serious in spreading Islam, as they were mainly interested in carrying out what? Trade. So that is another reason as to why Islam did not spread very fast as a religion in Uganda, much as it was the first foreign religion to be introduced. Then the third contribution is that these Arabs introduced the first currency. They introduced the first form of money that we call cowrie shells. Cowrie shells. I want you to be adding this information, my friend. It's very, very important in that primary 5 class. So you will be asked, what form of currency, what form of money did the Arabs introduce? Cowrie shells. And this became the first currency to be used in Uganda. So if the question comes in that, cowrie shells is the answer. Next is, these Arabs came with some cattle. We shall say they introduced the new breeds of cattle that we call Zebu cattle. They introduced the Zebu cattle in Uganda, the short-horned cattle, leave alone the other long-horned cattle that we're looking at, that we were talking about when we were looking at the Bachwezi. These ones are the short-horned cattle, the ones we call the Zebu cattle. They were introduced by the Arabs. Next one, the Arabs introduced new languages. They introduced Kiswahili as a language. Kiswahili came out as a result of the Arabs. So we shall have Kiswahili language coming into Uganda, and people now speak it. It came as a result of the Arabs marrying with the Bantu tribes, and they gave rise, or they brought the Arabs married there is what called intermarriages between the Arabs and the coastal Bantu that gave rise to the people we call the Swahili people. And because of that, they were able to mix some Arab words and some Bantu words to form the Kiswahili language. And then lastly, the Arabs introduced new culture. They introduced new culture. They introduced new cultures. For example, we are looking at the dressing. I'm talking about the wearing of kanzus. Wearing of kanzu. So you find that the Arabs introduced the wearing of that kanzu that we now also wear. They are the ones that introduced it. So much as we need to have, much as we have the bad things that they did, we also need to forgive them, and we also understand that they are also the good things that they did, much as they did the other ones. So for that, we shall have come to the end of our discussion about the Arabs. And like I said, if you don't have some of this information, like this one here, you don't have it in your booklet, but it's very important. Make sure you get your pen and your diary and you add it there, such that you make your revision very, very easy. And when you do that, you'll be a serious child who will be understanding most of the things. Then we also have to talk about the Indians on our page 17. And we shall be able to understand that the Indians that came to Uganda, mainly from the ones that had come to build the Uganda Railway. We shall be able to understand the Uganda Railway, whereby we say that we had a railway line which was built from Mombasa, that is in Kenya, and it was brought it was connected to Uganda. So that railway, we had the Indians who were called to come and build it. They are the ones we call the Indian coolies. Call them the Indian coolies. Maybe I wrap this side like that. I will be able to understand. You shall be able to understand this. So the other second group of traders, we are looking at the Indians, and I say we had the Indian coolies. These are the ones who are brought to construct the Uganda Railway. And when they after constructing the railway line, most of these Indians stayed back. They remained. Therefore, they were able to begin their businesses, and they were able to carry out trade. And for that, we shall also call them the traders. Here we shall be able to bring the name Al-Dina Vizram. Al-Dina Vizram. Al-Dina Vizram was an Indian. Actually, he was the first Indian to open up the first shop in Kampala. So when you are asked, why is Al-Dina Vizram remembered in Uganda's history, we shall be able to note that Al-Dina Vizram opened up the first shop in Kampala, that is in Uganda. He opened up the first shop in Uganda, that was in Kampala. So, which means that before before this one opening up the first shop, there were no shops in Uganda. People could move from one household to another, from one community to another, get your goat, move to the neighborhood, tell them what you want. Maybe you want salt, you exchange and you come. If you buy a kilogram of meat, you don't have salt, you get a half of the kilogram, you take the neighbor, you get salt, like that. Exchanging goods for goods. And that is what we term as barter trade. Barter trade. We say barter trade was the exchange of goods, not good, but goods for goods without the use of money. So that is what we need to talk about that is as per the Indians. Then we talked of the Karatumas. We say those were the ones, the Katumas are the ones that came from Sudan, and for them they entered Uganda through the northern direction. Meaning that if we had our Uganda like this, you will find that this was Sudan, so we had the Katumas coming from the north, entering Uganda, that is to have trade taking place. So that is what we can share as for that time, for that for that group of the traders. When we meet again, we are going to be discussing yet another group of the foreigners that came to Uganda, and that will be about the explorers. I must thank you so much for enjoying this lesson, and may God continue blessing you as you keep on accessing more of these lessons to help you in this primary 5 class. To remind you, if you don't have a book yet for term 2, make sure talk to the parents and they can get for you a booklet from school, because those booklets are readily available. Otherwise, we shall meet again from there. Goodbye.